Hi everybody, going to give you a quick walkthrough with the Chapter 8 test. I'm getting some questions several times, so I think there's a few things that we need to cover. So here's the first question, or one of the questions you would receive, about the quarters and their mints, very similar to one of the homework questions, as well as questions in the study plan. I want you to, again, remember that in this chapter, there are three primary types of problems you can get. Those where you're testing proportions, those where you're testing the means, and those where you're testing the standard deviation. And pretty much every problem tells you what type of problem it is. If you take a look at this one, it says uses 0.025 significance level to test the claim that the quarters, blah, 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 have weights with a standard deviation less than 0.061. So that sentence, as well as the one that says, does the new equipment appear to be effective in reducing the variation of weights, have given you a clue as to what type of problem it is, as well as designing your alternative hypothesis, because the claim is that it's effective in reducing the variation, so the variation will be less. Keep in mind when you do a standard deviation problem that you have to remember to square your standard deviation to enter the variance in StatCrunch, as well as pay attention to your hypothesis setup. Another type of question here is similar to one we did in homework as well. This is about the number of car crashes within 5 miles from home out of a total number of car crashes. As soon as you see a part out of a whole or a claim about a percentage, that tells you right away what type of problem it is. This particular one, you're doing your P, null and alternative hypotheses, your test statistic, p-value, and of course drawing a conclusion. This particular one, I'm already giving you the printout from another software package, giving you your T and your p-value, asking you to derive the null and alternative hypotheses, identify your T and p-value, and then of course use the software to find your critical values. Remember that when you're doing critical values, you're going to go to Stat Calculator, T, and then pay attention to whether it's a one or two-tailed test. This particular question, you're going to copy and paste the data directly into StatCrunch. And again, the test here is the mean number of words per page is greater than 48. So you're going to copy and paste into StatCrunch and be looking at testing the claim about the mean. Another hint, ladies and gentlemen, is when you look at questions about the null and alternative hypotheses, you can tell here that this is a problem testing the mean, because that all of my hypotheses have to do with the mean. Here's one again with a proportion. Again, it tells you clearly what type of problem it is. I'm just asking you to draw a conclusion. This particular one has tested to claim that they have weights that vary more than, again, similar to a problem that we did in homework. All of these should look familiar. This is talking about standard deviation. There's one about the mean IQ scores of statistics professors. Again, remember that we're dealing with T, and it even reminds you of that in this problem. So again, you have proportions, T-tests, and tests about the standard deviation. This particular one is again about coins, and this one is talking about mean weight. And again, you can see that with the null and alternative hypotheses. This one has variation, and this one is simply asking you to set null and alternative hypotheses. It's actually a fairly straightforward type of question. So hopefully you find that helpful. Please remember to put your work on paper and hang on to it. If you have any questions right after you submit your test, you are allowed to scan and send me work, but it needs to be done immediately after taking a test. Good luck.